The last time, we had a look at this kinda cool mechanical spinning pen. It didn't turn out to be all that much more than a fun little gift. But why don't we look at something a little bit better and more functional this time? Fountain pens are really cool looking. They're kinda hard to get, but they are really functional and last quite a lot longer than regular ballpoints. But there's one slight problem. They cost a lot of money. So the question has to be asked, are the cheap ones any good? Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little intro there, trying something out. And yes, I did make it with TikTok, mainly to promote my TikTok here, which I don't really think I have to, because I'm doing a lot better on TikTok. But anyway, let's get into it. I have here today a Helix Oxford fountain pen. It's a very cheap model that I actually quite like. These are about £5, which in terms of buying a pen, that costs quite a bit, but in terms of fountain pen, this is the cheapest I've seen. And I like that because I'm not about to pay £400 for one pen. But is it any good? Now this pen's a little bit different to other pens. It is refillable, but it's not refillable like the other pens that I've showcased, like the mechanical one or the basic ballpoint pen. This one, you have to unscrew the top here, a little bit of a squeak, and there you go. Right here is the ink for the pen, so it just kind of flows on down and you're right with it. It's pretty decent, but let's have a look at how you actually refill it. Here we have the ink cartridges for the pen. These are about £2 to £3. I got these with the pens in my local Asda, and they did not cost a lot. You get about 20 in these. And here we have another cartridge, but not in the pen. I'm going to show you how to actually refill this. So what you want to do is, this one's empty, so I'm just going to take it out. The casing fell on my leg. Just pop it out. There you go. Put that in the bin. And then next up, you just kind of, you take the inkwell and take anything sharp and you just kind of put a bit of pressure on it and pop it, just like that. Then once you're done with that, you make sure to stick it in the bottom of the pen until you hear a little pop. And then once you're done with that, you just screw it back on and you're ready to write with it. So it's not all that time consuming and it's pretty easy, but one problem I have is, if you see my finger there, the ink did get on it. That's a problem I have a lot with the pen, is that when you're refilling the ink, sometimes it gets in your hands. It can be a little bit messy. Now sure, okay, bit messy for the ink, but it's really comfortable to hold. That's always a plus. It is a little bit weighted, but I kind of like that. A lot of pens I have feel kind of light, which I don't really care about. To me, it's not a big issue, and most likely to you, you're not going to notice it either, but it's a good thing to have a pen with a little bit of weight to it. Just kind of feels better. Okay, so we've got how the pen feels out of the way and how to refill it. The question obviously has to be asked, how does it write? Okay, so let's find out. So here's a little bit of a more close-up of me actually holding the pen. As you can see, I'm kind of writing. This is with the new ink cartridge, and it is quite nicely done. I'm kind of looking at this through my camera, so it's a little hard to write like this. But it is, as you can see, pretty good in ink quality. One large issue that I do have is that the ink sort of easily smudges. I deliberately done that, but in a lot of cases you're not going to mean to do that and it's still going to smudge. But in terms of actually writing with it, it's nice, you know? It's comfortable, and it comes out crystal clear, quite neat. Overall, it's not too bad. Now, I am writing this on a notebook that is positioned in my bed, so yeah, there's going to be a few lighter spots, but generally you can see the ink is coming through pretty fluently. There's not really any issues with that. So overall, really good. Okay, so clearly the pen writes well. There's no fading effect with the ink, which suggests that the ink is actually coming through pretty fluently. It's not hard to write with, it's quite neat. Overall, it writes well. But let's go into something a little more important to some people that are buying pens. The design. There are two different types of this pen. I have already shown you the black one. Here it is with the lid on, and here it is with the lid off. I'm gonna move the tip a little closer so you can see kind of what it looks like. It's nothing special, it's just a standard fountain pen. And then right next to me is the silver one. This lid's a bit looser because I've used this one more and it's gotten a little damaged. But here we go with the lid on, and here we are with the lid off. It's got a little black part here, but it is pretty much the exact same. So overall, not a lot of variety in design other than like two color options. This is literally the only two I've ever seen. There might be more, but I haven't seen them, so I can't really tell you. But as far as the place that I buy these pens from, this is the only two that I actually see design-wise. Okay, so I have actually written out a pros and cons list. So let's read out the pros and then the cons. The pros are, it is the cheapest fountain pen on the market. It's comfortable to hold, it's durable and lasts for a long time. It's quite easy and cheap to refill it, and it's weighted, which I've also put in the cons section because that's more of a middle ground. It's kind of based on your preference for pens and their weight, if that even really bothers you. If you're like me, it doesn't, so, you know. So the cons are, it is £5 for a single pen. That's good for a fountain pen, but in terms of generally using pens, ballpoint is still cheaper, which, you know, that makes it better, but it's not as neat as fountain pens and doesn't look as nice as a fountain pen. It might be hard to find the ink for this. I certainly struggled finding the proper ink to refill this at the start of having it, because they do come with one cartridge when you buy the pen, but that runs out quite quickly, and if you don't use the pen it will still dry out over time, so you kind of need to make sure you're using the pen a lot so the ink doesn't go to waste. But, you know, in the end I did find these cartridges. These are the right size. I ended up ordering the wrong size inkwells, or cartridges, whatever you want to call them, and they costed more than this because it was 60 of them, and now I can't use them because they are absolutely useful. Moving on to the next of the cons, the fresh ink can smudge. The fresh ink is typically wet ink, and wet ink obviously is going to smudge a little if you touch it because it's not fully dried. I've had a few issues with that, not really a fan, but I still prefer fountain pen. It might be a bit messy, and this goes into the next con. It's messy to refill. As I already shown, refilling it you have to pop open one of the ink cartridges, which gets slight bits of ink on your hand. Now, it's not really going to bother many people because it's like trace amounts of ink, and come on, sinks exist, but honestly that might be a slight annoyance, and you know, again, you're better off using a ballpoint pen if you just want convenience and nothing more, unless you're a pen enthusiast, in which case that's a good option. And it has a sharp tip. Now, this is good in terms of, you know, quite a few things, especially with the quality of the ink coming out. It's quite a fine tip. But at the same time, you slip up while holding this pen, you're going to die. You're not going to die, but in all seriousness, you will probably give yourself a couple of scratches, which with ink is a bit more dangerous. And you might end up ripping a hole in the paper if you push down too hard. You have to be quite light with it, which, you know, depending on who you are, that might be a bit of an issue. But other than that, there is not really any pros and cons that I can think of for this pen. It's pretty basic. It's a cheap kind of starter fountain pen. This one here, now I did say is durable. I have dropped this quite a few times accidentally, and I have been using this pen for upwards of a year, and it hasn't failed me yet. So I'm actually quite happy with it. I would definitely recommend it. In fact, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. For its price, for what it actually is, you are getting a pretty decent fountain pen that will last you a long time, that is the quarter of an average fountain pen in price. So overall, that is a very good aspect of it. If you are a person looking for a fountain pen, I would definitely recommend the Helix Oxford fountain pen at £5. And if you're a person who just wants regular pens, again, I would still recommend Ballpoint. This is more for people that care about what pens they're using or ones they're collecting. But yeah, that's us. Rather quick upload because I didn't have a lot of ideas to upload. I very frequently run out of ideas, so this series is going to be very good for that. But I do hope you enjoyed it, because I certainly enjoy making it. Leave a subscription if you want to see more. Like the video. It lets me know that this is actually a good series, at least to you guys. Dislike it if you don't. Either way, push me out in the algorithm. Give me views. And leave a comment down below. You want to talk about the subject of the video. You want to give constructive criticism. Anything at all. I will leave my social media in the description, and with that, I hope you have a good one. Take care.